This man has lived for more than 200 years. He has an infinite lifespan. What he never lacks is time. The strange thing is that every time he is killed by someone else, he can come back to life from the water. That way, he keeps repeating between life and death. He has lived in that cycle for over 200 years. His name is Henry, and he works as a forensic in New York. He is still researching how to neutralize his own immortality. He wants to die decisively because he has lived enough. Henry has seen the passing of his wife he loved most and the growth of his son. Seeing his child become the old man of the present is extremely heartbreaking for him, but he cannot do anything. The day Henry took to the subway to go to work as usual. While sitting on the subway, he accidentally met a very beautiful girl. Henry spoke to her first. He used his 200 years of life experience to see through that girl's introspection with just one look. This made the girl feel extremely curious about him. The two began to talk more together. The girl was gradually drawn in by Henry's mature maturity. Before leaving, the girl invited Henry to her violin performance. Also made an appointment for Henry to have coffee after finishing the performance. Henry agreed without hesitation. It was at this time that the subway had a terrible accident. The blonde girl died instantly. Henry is so pitiful. Then, a female detective named Jo came to examine the site of the crash on the subway. While listening to a colleague's brief report on the case, Jo discovered an antique watch on the site. This is the object that Henry dropped. Henry's body was gone, and he was once again revived from the water. The other police officer told Jo the details of the case. She said 14 people died at the scene, and they are conducting a forensic examination. As for the train driver, they found him dead of poisoning. The scene had traces of vomiting. Maybe that was the reason for the accident. At this point, Henry goes to the antique store of a close friend, Abraham, who is also the only one who knows Henry's secret. Every time he resurrected after his death, Henry recorded his painful feelings when he died. Through that he hopes to find a method to solve his immortality. Henry received a mission of autopsies of the people who died in the subway crash. As the victim of the crash, he was aware of the whole situation, but still pretended to be ignorant and heard the report from his assistant. After Henry dissected the body of the train driver, a problem was discovered. It was that the driver's lungs showed signs of poisoning. He concluded the train driver had been poisoned. To know more clearly what type of poison, it is necessary to analyze more carefully. At this point, Henry received a phone call from a mysterious person. He seemed to learn that Henry was at the scene, and also asked Henry how he survived. The man even said that he was always looking for someone with special abilities like Henry. Henry finished listening extremely confused. This reminded Henry of the oppressive memories of more than 100 years ago. The secret of his immortality was once discovered by others. He became a subject of study. They drew all the blood on him to do all kinds of experiments. David is almost exhausted. This time, he plans to leave New York. Abraham says if he did that, the problem will never be solved. Henry decided not to run away, but to find out who the mysterious person is. Henry went to the operating room to take the blood of the driver. Then he took the poisoned blood sample and injected it into his body, causing him to die. Eventually he found a poison that killed the train driver. Henry was not happy anymore because a problem occurred. Detective Jo through the subway station camera discovered Henry's presence at the scene of the crash. The old watch at the scene is his own. Jo called Henry to ask about this. She doubted he was the culprit of this case. Henry was extremely calm at Jo's questions. Through an interrogation, Jo could not find evidence, so could not accuse Henry. So Jo had to let Henry go home. After returning to work, Henry continued to examine the body of the train driver in detail. Indeed, Henry discovered something extremely important. It was the back of the driver's ear that had a very large injection. Getting an injection behind a person's ear is not easy, unless they voluntarily do so. Behind the driver's ear also discovered a suspicious fingerprint. This is a huge step forward in investigating the case. The police through fingerprint collation finally found a suspect named Aconite. During the raid to search Aconite's home, they discovered a large amount of poison was being produced. It turns out that Aconite is an engineer of a chemical factory. 3 years ago his wife had an unexpected accident, falling off a subway and being crashed to death. The train driver crashing into her was the train driver who was injected with the poison. It can be seen that this accident was long prepared by him to avenge his wife. The police also found 2 big boxes. They suspect that the boxes are used to contain poison, but it is empty now. They suspect Aconite is preparing a more dangerous action. Henry found very bizarre drawings. Thanks to that, Henry guessed Aconite's next crime scene, the central train station. As expected, when Henry and Joe found there, they discovered Aconite was preparing to commit the crime. Aconite spotted them first and shot Joe with a gun. When Aconite was about to shoot Henry, Henry kept telling him to stop acting. Joe was hit, but not in danger to her life. She was still conscious of everything going on. Henry found that he could not advise Aconite to stop, so he attacked Aconite directly. As a result, Henry was hit by 2 bullets. However, Henry's greatest skill is not afraid of death. He hugged Aconite tightly, and then jumped down to die together. Joe thought Henry was dead, but when she woke up at the hospital, Joe found Henry standing beside her hospital bed. What happened? Joe didn't understand why Henry was still alive. Today's movie is over here. Thank you for watching.